Hi everyone, it's Danny from OrchidNature.com. Today we're going to be answering a question sent by William, and he's asking if I can explain the difference between a Phalaenopsis and a Doritaenopsis, or shortly called DTPS. Now, a DTPS or Doritaenopsis is a cross between a Phalaenopsis orchid and a Doritaenopsis orchid. Unfortunately, I do not have a proper Doritaenopsis, but I'll try to show you a picture of one, and I'm going to tell you about it as much as I can gather. Now, there is a slight difference between Phalaenopsis and Doritaenopsis orchids. In many sources, you will find Doritaenopsis as being terrestrial or semi-terrestrial. Other than that, they do look pretty similar to Phalaenopsis orchids. Some other differences would be that because they're terrestrial, Doritaenopsis orchids tend to form upwards flower spikes since they live on the ground rather than trees. And as you may know, Phalaenopsis orchids usually send out spikes to the side or downwards because of their way of growing. So mixing a Phalaenopsis with a Doritaenopsis would just make the hybrid look better. They would make the hybrid send out a longer and more upwards flower spike than in the case of a Phalaenopsis. Of course, the differences might be very, very slight, and it really depends on the amount of genes the hybrid took from its parents. Other than that, they did hybridize them to produce more flowers, as Doritaenopsis tend to produce many small flowers per flower spike, and they just wanted to obtain a hybrid that will keep the shape of a Phalaenopsis as much as possible, but will create a better looking flower spike and flowers better suited to a windowsill, let's say, because most of us grow our Phalaenopsis orchids not mounted but in a pot. Now, there isn't much of a difference in looks between a Doritaenopsis and a Phalaenopsis orchid. This is a DTPS Sogogotris, and this is a Phalaenopsis Girl. And if you look at them, they do look pretty similar. This is because people actually chose those hybrids that did look like a Phalaenopsis but had similar traits to a Doritaenopsis. So in any case, it's really hard to tell the difference between the two, and the hybrids should be cared for just like a Phalaenopsis, since they did choose the ones that had more heritage from Phalaenopsis orchids. As far as caring for Doritaenopsis orchids, I'm not really sure because I don't have a Doritaenopsis. Maybe I will have one in the future. But if it's semi-terrestrial, I would most likely keep it more moist than I would a Phalaenopsis orchid. Now, the Doritaenopsis orchid usually has smaller flowers than a Phalaenopsis orchid. But the hybrids, the DTPS hybrids, don't necessarily have smaller flowers. It depends, but they were bred to have big blooms and big flower spikes and a lot of flowers on the flower spike, but not necessarily to have tiny flowers, because this is not what people are looking for. So you can actually have a Phalaenopsis, a DTPS actually, that has very, very huge flowers, and you can have one that has tinier flowers or medium flowers. It really isn't such a big difference. And again, as far as I can gather, they're thinking of actually renaming Doritaenopsis orchids to Phalaenopsis orchids. They've already renamed Sideria japonica as being Phalaenopsis japonica. So yeah, all in all, the big difference is that one tends to be slightly semi-terrestrial while the other is epiphyte. But in crosses, in DTPS crosses, this aspect tends to go towards the epiphyte. Okay, hopefully I've answered your question, and thank you for sending it in. I really wished I would have a Doritaenopsis to properly show you how it looks like. The hybrids, the DTPS, really don't look any different from any Phalaenopsis, and their care should be just like any Phalaenopsis, actually. Okay, if you have any other questions, you can pop them in a comment and I'll try to get back to you. And also, feel free to visit our community at OrchidNature.com, and you might find something interesting there, and also you can share with us your experiences, problems, or just simply your orchid photos. Alrighty, I'll see you next time, and thank you for joining. Bye!